Good afternoon, good morning to everyone, wherever you are. Welcome to our second webinar about Inside Implant Studio for the design of surgical guides. I have with me today again Dr. Jan Polix. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. It's been a pleasure since last time. We had a great turnout to our first few guide designs.
Exactly, it has been quite exciting. Since then, we made a video available on YouTube. It's also available on the support page of 3Shape. We could see from the views there is quite a strong interest by many people out there to learn and to get ideas on how a guide could be designed for use in during a surgery. And today, during the webinar, we'd like to continue on that. Maybe, Jan, you can present us the agenda for today's session. We have 3 different topics coming along. So the first one is going to be
it's going to be posterior problems. We all know that in the posterior part there can be problems actually having space for the drill head and for the handle. And also teeth issues when they are leaning the wrong way. So we're going to look further into that.
Excellent. So next question is, of course, also how to handle safety aspects when handling. For instance, avoiding a situation where the patient potentially could swallow a guide, which is a major risk both to the patient and his well-being. So that's we're going to address as well. And thirdly, we're also going to look at Jan, so different kind of guide designs, how to combine different options of guide designs. We are going to show some hands-on example how this could be done and how we can actually also use certain tools, features available within Implant Studio to kind of combine different aspects for an even more flexible, usable approach of the guide.
Very good. First, I want to remind you all of the principles for guide design that we introduced in the last webinar. The webinar is online on YouTube and on our homepage. You can also download it through the link I posted in the chat, where you also can see today's webinar. So everything is there for you. We also will show 4 cases, and they are also available for download. So you can download them and play with the cases as well.
Yeah, we really like to encourage you to do so because, like everything in life, it's a lot about practicing and actually getting a feeling on how to do things. And once this is accomplished, it's much easier to find or to give the right options to your customers and to the dentist when he starts using them. But let's repeat the principles of guide design. Jan, you like to bring them up once again.
Yes, first and foremost, the stable and solid construction. Of course, there is no room for any mobility or flexibility in the design. A short or small move by a couple of degrees will actually devastate the whole design and the surgery. So very important. Also that there is no possibility for the guide to rotate and of course or to move in any plane. The guide also has to be sighted or placed firmly on either the teeth or tissues with anchor pins or some other model. And finally, to have full control over the guide, what happens with it when you're not holding it with your hands, so it doesn't come down the throat or it has other problems. So let's start with some problems that we can see when we are designing guides.
Yeah, here we can see 5 different examples on how guide design could be challenging to the user. Let's have a look at the first picture on the left, upper left. It's about doing a case, an all-on 4 with an angulated implant insertion direction. Yeah, and what is a major challenge here for the surgeon?
Well, of course, it's the length of the drill and the handle head, the drill head. It's challenging to get the space to get all the instruments inside here. And of course, this positioning of the fixture was There was an idea that this would be the best way to place the implant, but it's also quite hard. So we're seeing more and more of straight or actually mesial inclinated implants instead. And now today with the guides we can actually place them straight again. So this is a big challenge for the surgeon. Of course, you can pull out the chin, you can be inside the palate, like as we will see later on. But anyway, it's quite challenging.
So very informative. So the next case, well, what we can see is also we have a guide with several kind of pilot holes being placed, I assume. So what is the practical problem here?
The problem is the size and the form of the guide. As you see, it looks like a candy or something, a small carrot. So if this one doesn't retain enough on this two half teeth and comes loose, there is a big risk that the patient actually will swallow or inhale this one, or it will end up anywhere somewhere else. So this is a bad design to start with. So we have to do something about this, and we will look into this today.
Yeah. So stability of the fit is a crucial element in designing a guide to ensure it cannot rock, it cannot move, but it also eventually cannot kind of fall into the patient's throat. So now the third picture to the right, what are the issues here?
Here we can see a guide that looks stable and nice, but there's actually a quite sharp stress point here in the middle between the two sleeves, which are big, and of course you can almost see the fracture line already before the guide is being used. And what happens when we place and anchor the guide is when we drill, there will be a lot of tension to the guide, and we will try to hold it stable, and then it might break. And if it breaks, then this side will of course be useless because it has only one anchor pin. So either make a crossing bar or some other solution, but we will look into that as well soon.
Yeah, so thanks, Jan. Then on the next picture on the lower left, we see a guide where the dentist will use secondary sleeves, like a sleeve in the sleeve system, which is provided by some manufacturers in order to guide the drill. In principle, there's nothing wrong about it, but it does have also some challenges to make sure that the secondary sleeves or sleeve in the sleeve will not get lost during surgery or after removing or placing them. Then again, it could potentially be swallowed by the patient. So we like to make you aware that when you use that, also particular on where to use them, in particular in the posterior region, this might be much more difficult than you might think.
Exactly. And the recommendation is actually when you put in the sleeves or change the sleeves between different drill sizes, is that you remove the guide from the mouth and then change the sleeves outside and then insert the guide again. And of course, as you know, when we insert and remove the guide a couple of times, the retention will be lost because it's still plastic, and then we get a not as good guide as we hoped for. So a good but tricky design.
Yeah, and talking about tricky design, the picture on the lower right is another good example on what might look easy when you design it, but could in practice be challenging. Having a sleeve being placed at a much lower position relative to the neighboring two adjacent teeth can cause troubles to the dentist to actually insert with enough space the drills and everything, and therefore having kind of space issues.
And that we will show a bit about as well. So let's start. Let's change this pointer.
Yeah. So thank you very much. So let's take a look. So coming back to our agenda, let's have a look on at posterior design cases, how to do that.
Here we have a well-known case in the 3Shape family. It's the Nina case, where we actually see two teeth missing in the posterior, and our aim here is to place two implants. And of course, already here in the bite, we can see that it can be a space problem, and especially if the patient cannot open the mouth enough. So like here we can see that the drill with the head of the handle and the drill keys they build up quite a large or tall pillar, and you have to get everything in here. If you have an angle of the implant where you actually have to place the drill down next to or opposite the teeth in the upper jaw, it can be tricky to get it in. So we will look at a way how to achieve this. So this is a normal and optimal placement for implants here, where we actually have the sleeves not touching the soft tissue. We have a nice and straight positioning, good distance to the mandible nerve. X-ray looks good. We can see the soft tissue down here, and the sleeves are not in contact. But how can we do and how can we get more space in the posterior area if we need it? One way is actually to lower the sleeves down into the soft tissue. We can see it down here to the right. We lower the sleeve into the soft tissue, but not into the bone. This means that we actually can apply pressure or even remove tissue with an open flap, so that we can achieve this lower positioning of the sleeve without actually making the implant placement difficult at all. What you also can see is from the top view that I have actually angulated the two implants like a walking man with two legs, one leg in front of the other. This means that the posterior one actually is inclinated lingually. This means that the drill head will not come out exactly towards the antagonist, but in the palate. So there is more room for me to use my long instruments if needed. You can also see in the lower image that I have lifted up the sleeves, so there is space underneath, so the surgeon can make an open flap. So the surgeon has the choice to either go punch or to open the flap.
Yes. So here are a few advices and tricks on how to design a guide. Please remember we have different designs options available under bars and windows, and as often it's up to the creativity of the users to apply them correctly. So first of all, of course, we do have here in the middle the good old viewing window, and just to make sure that the guide is fitting correctly on the teeth. But then also we are playing with ideas of viewing windows in combination with support bars, which have here, where we can see here several of them. And Jan, you can explain on what you did.
If there is not enough room, if you need to place the sleeve on the normal level and you cannot inclinate the implants on different sides, you need to find another way to actually get access to the drill, to the bone. And one way to do that is actually to open up a lateral window in the sleeve. Some manufacturers have sleeves that are pre-manufactured like this. Others have sleeves that are prepared and where you have to manually adjust them later on. So by placing a viewing window through the sleeve, we actually get this result, where we can see that we have anti-rotational lock on the sleeve, so it will not move, and then we have an opening to the buccal side. Of course, you can place it to the lingual side as well or anywhere else, but on the lingual side, when the burr is hot after drilling, it's easy to actually damage or hurt the tongue, so buccal is better. And it's also easier when you put it in the mouth, especially for if you are right-handed and you are sitting on the left side of the patient like we usually do. It's easier to maneuver from the buccal side. Of course, these openings in between, they are also related to which drill you are going to use. So in the software we can measure and we can actually see how big we have to make this window.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, we can see here some options on how to place the support bars, where we actually have, in this example, added also the name of the patient. There are flexibility here. It does not need to look like this. It could also be placed, at least the connecting point to the sleeves being more to the posterior part. and again that will give more flexibility or more support. Of course, this needs to also be done in a way that we do not kind of apply too much pressure on the tongue for the patient, because that's again can make him or her feel uncomfortable during the surgery.
Also, we can see for the strength and stability of the structure of the guide, maybe I should have placed this viewing window on the canine instead, so the bar actually could have gone in and used all the strength it will provide there, or place it a little bit more posterior, like you said.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Jan. Very nice. So now we learned something about what kind of consideration and features to use to design a guide for the posterior part. Let's move on to the next example. So now we're going to have an example for what options are available to increase the safety of the surgical guide. And Jan, I mean, you have also made your share of experience on what could be done. Let's dive deeper in what to do.
One problem area is that if you drop the guide, or if the patient uses the tongue during the surgery and actually removes the guide, it can end up anywhere, and the risk of inhalation is overwhelming. It's big. So it would be nice to actually place some kind of wire or dental floss or something to the guide, so we easily can get grab of it or rip it out again if something happens. Just like we do with the endodontic files and so on, because we are used to work that way anyway. And if you have this kind of bar going across, that's a nice place to actually place a wire. It's easy to just spin around and make a knot, and then leave a half a meter of dental floss or something outside the mouth, so you can get a grab on it. Another way is to actually use a bar, for example buccally, and then make a viewing window in that bar, so we get this small hole or anchor point where we can attach the dental floss or a wire. So we can use the bar for more than stability. We can of course write on it, but we can also use it as a site for an attachment.
And actually this also leads us into another way how we can use bars in a creative way. If we move on to the next page, it's a very clever way on actually what else could be done. What Jan did here is he took a round shape support bar and turned it by 90 degrees, so it's facing up down, and then kind of making it like very big a round shape. And now actually in this kind of setup on the vocal side, the bar has also been used to kind of to push out
the cheek.
And, sorry, I was just missing the word, the cheek. And by doing so, also kind of making the life even easier for the assistant. So there's no need for her to hold the mirror and just focus on assisting the doctor with the instrument and sucking or taking out everything during surgery.
That is correct. Very good. And of course we see the viewing window there again that I'm using to attach the wire. So we are used now and quite good at using the guides for perfect placement and everything. Now we must start to think about security as well, so nothing happens with all these new guides that we are designing. So remember security.
Yeah, thank you very much. So something else we'd like to make you aware once again, you can actually combine different patches within the guide design. You do not need to use only one patch for kind of drawing around the teeth. You can have multiple of them and connect them. How do we do that normally, Jan?
We could see in the beginning the guide where the tooth was missing and the site was quite low, inferior to the teeth, and this gives you a guide that actually is dipping down quite a bit. Coming in here between with the drill head and the handle head, it can be difficult. Of course the software removes area around the sleeve, but if you're having a machine with a bigger head than normal, there are some out in the market, then it could be problematic here, and then you have to design accordingly. So this could be a problem. a good way to actually avoid this problem is to split up the patch that we are having into two pieces, making one patch on the mesial side of the implant site and one patch on the distal side. And by this, being able to lift up the sleeve, because here in the front, for example, there is no problem with space, so we can use long drills. When we lift up the sleeve, it's much easier to reach because we don't have to go all the way down to the bottom. And we can also have the possibility to either make a punch, use a punch technique, or to open up a flap. So we again have the possibility to choose afterwards. And of course, the sleeves today, they are 5 millimeters, so with the keys they will give a good stability all the way down and good possibilities for rinsing and clearing out of debris and so on.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jan. So there's a lot of flexible options available also to handle cases where the surgeon is aiming to do a flap. This is one way how to address it in the guide design. Let's move on. What else can we do? Half and half. So
yes.
What do you have in mind by that?
It's not a new Belgian beer. It's actually yes. It's actually when we have this problem, it can look like this. It can be teeth missing in the front, and we only have posterior. It can be over the midline as well, because that happens too. But you get the idea. If you are missing a lot of teeth on one side and you want to place a guide, here the usual way is to place a two-supported guide and then have the other side just rest on the tissue. The problem is that if the retention isn't good enough on the remaining teeth, or you don't get the good stability that you want, you actually have to increase the stability in some way here. And a way to do that is that after your normal design, where you actually use the teeth for retention as much as possible, you can see here that I went down all the way over the undercuts, so I get a stable guide and reduce as much retention as possible, and then also use the tissue to rest on. But I actually add an anchor pin here on the other side. This helps me from prohibiting the patient to put the tongue underneath the guide and to actually push up the guide, because they do, when they lift up the tongue, the mouth bottom, the submandible area lifts up, and the tissue might rise as well, and the guide might come loose. But with this anchor, we are secure and we have good stability even if the patient moves the tongue during the surgery. Or sometimes you actually put your finger on somewhere and you can feel that it's flexing a little bit on the other side. With this technique, you don't have that problem at all. This is how it looks in the guide, with the guide again with the anchor pins, with anchor pin and with the implants, and also with the viewing windows and bars. So we have all combinations here, which gives you a good stability, a safe guide with the wire. It's easy to place. You can see that the retention is good. You have a good, strong, non-flexible guide with perfect retention on both sides. So this is a perfect guide to use even in these difficult cases.
Very interesting. Again, it's about being creative and using the different options you have available. To combine a two-support guide with an anchor pin is a very interesting approach to handle cases where we have free-hanging areas or areas which are not tooth support for too large part. And I think this is going to give a lot of options to the user to find the optimal setup for him or the optimal design for him.
I want you to try out these designs and to play with them, and hopefully find new ways to actually use the software to more than we thought was possible before. So I have uploaded these cases as downloadable, and you can import them into Implant Studio. So you find them on this link. It's clickable, and then you go straight in and can download them as well. You can also find the 4 first cases that we had last time in the same place.
Very good. Thank you very much. As usual, we're going to place this video in a couple of days also on YouTube as well as on our support page. Here you can find also all the other webinars we did related to Implant Studio or inside Implant Studio, as well as general videos we have for the Implant Studio software, starting from workflows to how to work with Implant Studio as such, but also getting some tips and tricks about common challenges and questions people have. You're more than welcome to review them, to share them with your colleagues, friends, co-workers, whoever is using Implant Studio today or is interested. We like also to encourage you to reach out to us if you have questions or ideas on what else we can do. I hope, or we hope, Jan and myself, that today's webinar gave you some good inspiration ideas on what can be done, and we hope you're going to use them very soon in your daily practice. Good thing is we always have some new webinars coming up. The next one is going to be on December 14th. Jan, you're going to be again our key speaker.
Yes, we got a lot of requests from not dentists, I have to say, that's good, but resellers and users that are not very used to use, because they are not dentists, use Implant Studio and know how to place the implants. So I'm going to talk a little bit about basic considerations that we need to know when we place the implants, what to look out for, how to read the bone, how the crown design actually can help us place the implants very, very fast, and what we can do with the tissue and so on. So for dentists, of course, but also for everybody else that wants to listen in, December 14th, same time, same channel.
Thank you very much. That's all from our side for today. You're more than welcome to ask some questions via our chat tool. Otherwise, we hope we're going to see you again or hear you, have you participating on December 14th. Once the webinar from today is going to be available on YouTube, you're going to receive a notification by email by our colleague Johanna. That's all I can say, or we can say for today. Once again, thank you very much and have a great day. Bye-bye.